What is your Tinder horror story? I've been on quite a few Tinder dates. Most are pretty standard dinner, drinks, occasional bang, etc. This isn't really a horror story, just the one that sticks out as the most bizarre funny. This girl, we'd been chatting for like a week or so, hit me up around 10 PM on a Sunday night and said she'd be in my neck of the woods on her way home and wanted to see if I wanted to hang out. I did. So she comes over and she's got a bag of Mexican food with her. So I put on an episode of Always Sunny and she busts out a monster bean and cheese burrito and a carne asada quesadilla. She asked if I wanted any, but I had already eaten. So this skinny, mind you, girl puts down both of these ducking things in like 10 minutes. Just destroyed like 2 pounds of food. She wipes her face off, grabs my hand, rubs her tits with my hands, and gets up and goes, "Welp, I gotta go. You can tell your friends you at least got something out of it." Never to be seen again. I'm still in love with her. Edit. Here's a screenshot of our last words together. So do you normally hit up guys Juan to eat burritos and quesadillas at their house and just take off? Hahaha Tauchi, that was such a weird night, I'm so sorry. I don't use Tinder. However, my roommate loves it and she's brought back numerous visitors. Which is fine, except for the fact that the apartment is tiny and we share a room. And also the fact that my roommate doesn't really care what I end up seeing. And, as it turns out, most guys don't care about having another girl in the room either, some take it as an opportunity for a threesome. My roommate is my Tinder nightmare. Went on a date with a girl who had already told her whole family about me before we even met, and she wanted me to meet them in person on the first date. Nope. This was back when Tinder first came out and wasn't quite as known as a hookup app. We met and had a great first date. Second date was even better. Things kept going for about 2 months when she told me she went out with me originally in an attempt for a dinner with schmucks type thing where her and all her friends would bring the worst Tinder date. We both really liked each other, but I couldn't get over how we started. I met a guy on Tinder that I had kinda already known through other friends, but we never met each other prior to Tinder. He came over and we hooked up a few times. I was giving him a BJ and he asked me if I'd stick something in his ass. I was totally down for it, so I grabbed the only thing I had, this tiny bullet-shaped vibrator. So I was sticking it in his ass, and he kept telling me deeper, and soon the whole thing, it just kinda got sucked up in. I definitely thought he'd be able to tell it was stuck up in there, and he seemed to like it, so I just rolled with it, and continuing doing my thing. So he finishes, and I assume he's gonna get up and take that out of his ass, but after about a minute he doesn't, and I was like, "Hey, so where is that thing?" And he's like, "I don't know, I thought you had it." And I was like, "What the duck? How can you not feel it in your ass?" And so he gets up, his face turns red as duck, his eyes are huge, and he runs to the bathroom. He's freaking out because this vibrator is ducking, stuck in his asshole. I walk up to the bathroom and he's suddenly white as a ghost and crying and shaking, and he has basically ripped his ass with his hand. It is covered in blood. I do a quick Google search and I tell him to relax or it'll never come out. He asked me to get a fan because he said he felt like he was about to pass out. When I left the room I came back and he had squeezed it out, I guess. It was inside the toilet vibrating and I could hear it. He was passed out on the bathroom floor and a sweaty bloody mess. I think I had him over like one more time, but he got super clingy, so I cut it off. It was super hilarious to tell this story to my friends. Poor guy. However, out of respect I didn't tell the friends of ours that were mutual. TLDR, I got a vibrator stuck in a dude's ass that I met on Tinder. Edit. The next morning we woke up and didn't talk about it. He actually hung up some curtains for me in the kitchen and hung up some wall art that I hadn't gotten around to doing. So he was a good sport about it and didn't act as mortified as you'd think. Also, he said stick something up my ass, not stick something with a flared base, so I just did what he asked. Swiped right. Now he can't wipe right. One time I messaged a girl. She didn't message me back. Classic. Met up with a really hot but curious girl. I'm a lesbian. This girl had only ever been with men and wanted to experiment with girls. She was stupidly hot, like hot. We matched and we chatted for like 2 days. I soon found out we had no common ground at all. Like, none. However, she wanted to meet, and me being the horny les gremlin, I'm agreed, just because she was hot and I could take her girl on girl virginity. We agreed to meet one day, picked her up, and we went for drinks. Walked back to mine and chatted a little more over alcoholic root beer and Breaking Bad. We started making out. She took off my bra, I took off hers. She took my pants off, I took hers off. We started kissing, touching, feeling. She starts fingering me. I can tell straight away she is a first timer. She starts jabbing at my poor vag with her half-inch acrylics. I tell her to slow down a little and be a little more gentle about it. All of a sudden, she bursts into tears and says she's not ready. I tell her it's fine, blah blah. She ends up staying at my place and we cuddle for the night until I sobered up enough to drive her back home in the morning. Later the next day I go for a piss and realize it stings like a bitch and my pee smells dreadful and is cloudy. Run to the doctors because I'm a casual hypochondriac and take a pee sample. Doctor sticks the paper in my pee and yup, straight away it shows I have a UT. I didn't piss after little Miss Bacurious scratched my insides out. Bitch gave me a UT and blue balls. My Tinder nightmare began on January 8, 2014, when I started texting with a beautiful woman who I knew was out of my league. I'm a 50-ish Caucasian guy, out of shape, overweight, but otherwise stable and normal. She was a 30-year-old black woman, college educated, stunningly beautiful and very elegant and slender. Nonetheless, after a few days of texting I invited her to join me for dinner at a very nice restaurant downtown. To my dismay she actually accepted my invitation. I was waiting for her at the bar, and when she walked in my jaw hit the floor. She was so beautiful I literally lost my breath for a moment. She was taller than me in her heels, and was wearing a beautiful short dress with the most amazing legs I had ever seen. She greeted me with a bright smile and a gentle hug and we were escorted to our table. We had a very good date, the conversation flowed, and she seemed to have a good time as well. We decided to continue the date and went to a couple of bars for drinks. Finally she said it was time to go home, and, since she had taken Uber earlier, I offered to give her a ride home, and she quickly agreed. All this time I thought that, even though the date was fun and comfortable, I assumed it would possibly lead to a friendship at best considering the obvious differences. Well, when we got to her place we talked for a few minutes more. I offered to walk her to her door but she declined. She then got out and walked around to my door. She leaned through the window and planted a very brief but sensual kiss on my lips. My heart stopped. She then leaned back and smiled. I was able to stammer out an invitation to go out again, and she accepted without hesitation. I was on cloud 9. I knew that this remarkable woman would have a profound effect on my life. It seemed predestined. Fast forward a couple of weeks. She and I had been seeing each other nearly every day, and I was developing strong feelings already. But something was wrong. I had a weird nagging sense that she was hiding something. Although she was being very affectionate, something just felt off. Then finally it happened. We were out at a bar together. It was a good time, but she seemed distracted. As we were leaving she turned to me and said, in a serious tone, "We need to talk." I thought, this is it. The differences between us are too much for her, and I'm about to be friend-zoned. But nothing prepared me for what came next. She asked me to just listen and not say anything, and I agreed. She then started out by saying that she had developed strong feelings for me, but there was something that I needed to know about her that might make me want to change my mind about pursuing a relationship. My mind was spinning, and so many scenarios raced through my head. Is she married? Is she a criminal? Then I remembered a few days earlier when we were making out and I touched her breast lightly and realized that she had breast implants because it was quite hard. So I thought, OMG, is she a transsexual? But, as it turns out, she wasn't, but that would have been better than what came next. She looked at me and with a tear in her eye, she told me that she has stage 4 breast cancer. She was originally diagnosed 4 years earlier as stage 3 and had beaten it back into remission after having a double mastectomy along with radiation treatment and chemotherapy. Now it had returned as stage 4 and she was to start chemo again in 2 weeks. I was floored. She then stated that she will understand if I wanted to turn and run and she wouldn't think less of me for it. My response was to reiterate that I adored her. and I thought she was an amazing woman, and if she wanted me to take this journey with her, that I would be honored to do so. We kissed and just held each other for a while. Finally she said goodnight and went to her car to go home. I cried all the way home. We had a full amazing year together. I had to go to Japan for work, and she met me there in between chemo treatments. She never cried and was always elegant. I learned what the true definition of grace meant. We lived a lifetime in 2014. She died 9 months ago, 15 months after we met. I'm a much better man for having met her and shared in her struggle. I love you and miss you so much, Jenny. I'm not crying, you're crying.